When I was asked to participate in this year's stewardship campaign and I was told that the theme is home, I agreed partially because it made me immediately think about what I often call my home church. Many of my Westminster friends have heard me talk about my home church, where I grew up, as I still, all these many years later, feel a deep connection to it. My family has a long history there. My maternal grandparents joined in -- right after the war was over, when my mother and her siblings were young. About 14 years later, my parents were married there, and then my brother and sisters and I were all baptized there as babies during the 60s. Many of our parents' friends' children became our friends. They were thoughtful people, active in the community. Our father's funeral was held there. Then both of my two sisters and I were married there in that church. One of our cousins was married there. Our grandmother's funeral was held there. And then just most recently, we had a memorial service for our own mother there this summer. When I was a teenager, I remember hearing adults talk of the PCUS and the UP before the merger of our denomination in '83, which began to teach me some about the history of our denomination. Our church was the first in our presbytery to call a female minister in '76. She became our youth leader, and then she married Russ and me a decade later. This church and her people, the clergy and the members, nurtured me and my family, nurtured my faith, therefore has remained strong in my mind as my home church all these years later. And I still keep in touch with many of my friends from my younger days at this church. When Russ and I got married and settled here in Greenville, he too had come from a Presbyterian church and background. It was not hard for us to find and agree upon a church where we felt comfortable at home. Westminster seemed very close to what we were accustomed to in terms of traditional worship and music, thought-provoking sermons and Sunday school classes, and prioritizing outreach to the community and the world through budgeting and missions. So as a newlywed young couple with no children, we joined in '89. Shortly after we joined, we were asked to serve as junior high youth advisors, at the time called Actioneers, and it was hard. Back in the days before our nice facility had the youth rooms, when all the kids were loose in the old big gym. But we grew from it. We began to get to know people, and it turned out to be a valuable experience for us. Now, several of those kids are mature, involved adults in our congregation today. They know who they are. In the '90s, we had 3 children, and they were, of course, all baptized here at Westminster. They grew up here attending worship, Sunday school, Bible school. It's elementary, when it was still brand new and very small. Youth group, playing basketball. 2 of them sang in the youth choir. They went to Montreat and the Dominican Republic. One went on a domestic mission trip to New Orleans after Katrina. Another one on an inner-city mission trip in downtown Atlanta, sleeping on basement floors of a Presbyterian church there. We are so grateful as parents for the nurturing that many of you in this family of faith have given them over the past 30 years. So, back to that church of my childhood. While certainly not less important, for me to call it my church, my home church, made me stop and think, why do I say that? Westminster is my home church. Perhaps it's a matter of semantics or vocabulary, lack of a better term for one's childhood church, maybe. But Westminster is definitely, absolutely our home now, and it has been for over 32 years. We are happy to make our pledge to Westminster every year, not only because doing so is a central tenet of our Christian faith, but also because we feel that we gain so much from Westminster. We feel at home here in the pew on Sundays, at church social functions, mission projects, and we consider ourselves so fortunate to be a part of this wonderful, thriving community of faith. Yes, home.